Is Apple's upcoming iPhone Ultra Fold actually worth the money? That is the question you're asking yourself right now. Nobody in the foldable phone space wants to say this out loud, so I will. Apple is arriving late, charging early, and the specs being whispered don't sound unbeatable yet. Verdict first. If the leaks stay true, you shouldn't plan to buy this on day one. Not because Apple can't build premium hardware, but because the first foldable effort will be judged against 7 years of competitors sanding off rough edges. And the rumored compromise is read like an expensive science project. The foldable phone market isn't new anymore. Samsung has shipped multiple generations of the Z Fold line. Oppo built the Find N series with wider, more usable outer displays. Honor pushed thinness hard with devices like the Magic V2. These companies already paid the tuition for broken hinges, fragile screens, dust problems, and awkward software. Apple waited. That delay can be smart. It can also be a trap. When a company enters late, it can't show up with pretty good. It has to show up with obviously better. That's the standard Apple set for itself over a decade of premium pricing and carefully controlled messaging. If it launches a folding iPhone that feels merely competitive, the price becomes the headline, not the experience. So why the delay really? The most practical answer is that foldable hardware forces ugly trade-offs. You're asking for a flexible display, 2 halves of a chassis, batteries split across both sides, and a hinge that survives tens of thousands of folds. You also want it thin, light, water-resistant, and strong. Every one of those goals fights the others. Apple also has a reputation problem to protect. When Samsung had early failures, it could shrug them off and iterate in public. Apple can't. If the first model creaks, cracks, or collects dust in a hinge, that story will travel faster than any keynote. Now let's talk about the rumored iPhone Ultra Fold itself. Names change, internal code names change, but the big themes in the reporting have been consistent enough to judge. A book-style device, a focus on a wider inner panel, and a price that aims straight at the top shelf. The 4:3 aspect ratio rumor matters more than it sounds. A wider, shorter cover screen can feel better for typing and reading. It can also feel worse for quick one-handed use. Most current Android foldables went tall on the outer display because people still use the closed phone constantly. You're checking messages, you're snapping a quick photo, you're scanning a boarding pass. Tall and narrow can be annoying, but it fits the hand. A wider outer panel changes that feel. It can make the device seem like a small tablet folded in half. That's cool on paper. In a pocket, bulk is real. In your palm, weight distribution is real. If the folded device feels like a brick, you'll use it less, and that kills the entire point. Then there's the crease. Every folding screen has one. The best ones hide it better, but you still see it under certain lights. Apple can reduce it with hinge engineering and panel layers, but it can't defy physics. If Apple markets perfection, and you see a line down the middle every day, that's friction. Small friction becomes big regret when you pay over $2,000. Hinge durability is the other silent deal breaker. People don't baby their phones the way tech reviewers do. A foldable has moving parts. Dust happens, drops happen, heat happens. Competitors have built years of data around failure points. Apple will need a hinge that feels tight, stays aligned, and doesn't start making sounds after 6 months. Leaks also hint at feature gaps, and that's where this gets uncomfortable. The rumors about Face ID not making the cut are believable. Sensors need space. Some foldables rely on side fingerprint readers because it's simply easier to package. But Apple trained its users to expect Face ID as the default. If the first folding iPhone ships without it, Apple will spin it as a different approach. Buyers will hear a missing feature. MagSafe is similar. If magnets and coil placement get weird in a folding chassis, Apple might skip it or reduce it. That would be a huge own goal. Accessories, mounts, and chargers built around MagSafe are part of the daily habit loop. Remove it and you're not just selling a new phone, you're breaking routines. Now the camera rumor, only 2 rear cameras. If that's accurate, it's not acceptable at an ultra price. Competitors in this category sell folding devices with serious camera hardware, sometimes even periscope zoom. Apple doesn't need 5 lenses. And yes, Apple can compensate with computational photography. It always does. But physics still matters. Sensor size matters. Lens choices matter. If the device lacks optical zoom, you'll feel it the first time you're at a concert, at a kid's game, or traveling and trying to capture detail. For a product meant to be a status symbol and a productivity tool, that's weak. Software is the real make or break, and it's where Apple could win. iOS on a folding phone has to feel intentional. The outer screen can't feel like a cramped afterthought. The inner display can't just scale up apps like an iPad without smart layouts. You need clean continuity when you open and close it. You need multitasking that doesn't feel like a science fair project. Apple has the building blocks. iPadOS already supports split view concepts. Developers already target multiple screen sizes. The company controls the silicon, the OS, and the app ecosystem policies. If anyone can make app handoff and resizing feel seamless, it's Apple. But here's my take. Apple might also deliberately hold back multitasking to avoid cannibalizing the iPad. That's not a conspiracy. It's product strategy. If the inner display turns your phone into a mini tablet that does real split-screen work, some people won't buy an iPad. Apple loves selling iPads, so watch what Apple prioritizes. If the software focuses on flashy animations and it feels magical moments but avoids real productivity features, that's a tell. A foldable needs substance. Otherwise, it's just a very expensive flex. Now the price. The rumored range of $2,000 to $2,500, with higher storage pushing toward $3,000, is the loudest part of this whole story. At that level, buyers stop comparing phones. They compare laptops. They compare vacations. They compare rent payments. And foldables have an ugly financial reality: depreciation and repairs. Folding screens can be expensive to replace. Hinges can be expensive to service. Even if AppleCare exists, you're still dealing with downtime and a more fragile device than a slab phone. Apple's track record on repair friendliness isn't exactly generous. If the first folding iPhone is complicated internally, repairs will be costly and slow. That means Apple must justify the premium with a clear, daily advantage. Not a cool party trick. Not a look what it can do. The practical advantage you feel every hour? Competition won't be polite either. Samsung and others will respond fast. They can discount. They can bundle. They can push trade-in deals. Apple rarely plays that game. It plays the pay more, get better game. That only works if it really is better. So what would make it worth it? 3 things. First, unmatched build quality in the hinge and inner panel. Not marketing, real-world durability. The kind you don't worry about. Second, software that finally makes a folding phone feel like a tool, not a toy. Clean multitasking, great keyboard behavior, apps that adapt without glitches. Third, a camera system that feels like a flagship, not good enough. If Apple wants to charge ultra money, it needs ultra output. If Apple nails those, the late entry becomes an advantage. It gets to look like the grown-up version of everyone else's early experiments. If it misses, the device becomes a symbol of brand power, not product excellence. And that's the core tension. Apple's name can sell a first-gen folding iPhone to loyal buyers. It can't protect them from buyer's remorse if the outer screen feels awkward, the feature list feels trimmed, and the price feels like a dare. So here's how you should think about it as a buyer. If you're the kind of person who upgrades every year and you love owning the newest form factor, you're already sold. Just admit it. If you care about value, wait. Let the real-world durability tests happen. Let the repair pricing become clear. Let the software updates land. The second generation will almost always be the smarter buy in a category like this. Until Apple proves otherwise, assume this first model is Apple learning in public, just at a premium price. Apple's foldable debut won't win on hype alone. The market already has mature hardware, thinner designs, and proven hinges. If the iPhone Ultra Fold ships with missing staples, modest cameras, and a $200 plus price, it's a tough sell. Apple has to deliver durability and software excellence, or the premium becomes the problem. If you're considering a foldable, write down what you need it to do daily: multitasking, photos, durability, charging, and repairs. Then compare that list to the leaks, not the logo. Drop your price ceiling in the comments. See you in the next one. Goodbye.